Hi, we are going to discuss Aldo Rossi's Architecture of the City today. Aldo Rossi is a very important architect and urbanist in the time frame. He wrote this book, Architecture of the City, during very important phase of development of architecture and urbanism, not only in Europe but across the world. This book has influenced the architects and urbanists of the generation of time. If one look at the timeline of architecture of the city, one can understand the position, which is right from 60s, where Lynch talked about imageability, Venturi's on complexity and contradiction. You have serial vision in 61. And if you just go further away, you will see the planning of Milton Keynes in 72, Pompidou Center, very important, urban buildings, and then 78, Leon Crier's rational architecture. So there is a certain sense of order of inquiry, how each architect and urbanist raise the questions about cities and how really it has shaped various manifestations and various processes around the world in understanding of cities. So there are various processes that involved in mapping and reading of cities. One can identify clearly, the spatial model, morphological model. Then there are visual perceptual models, social and functional model. While today we are looking at contextual model, where you're looking at various aspects of urban setting and architecture as an artifact within that. And there are models which are far more consequential in terms of the climate change and global theories and urbanism in global conversation. We'll be discussing this subsequently in this series. And one can even look at the chronology of various keywords that has emerged over a period of time, right from basic understanding of cities, of figure ground theories, to the idea of behavioral settings and cultural pluralism. Simple thing like network theories, betweenness, closeness, straightness, gravities, and stuff like that, which are involving different kind of network, very complex network, and they're different from the way we do the morphological study. But one begins to overlay network understanding on a morphological pattern. One is able to in a better position to articulate the relationship. Now, this book is very important from the perspective of urbanism, because it is written by Aldo Rossi from a particular context. This is Italy, and there were history of writing of various kind of theoretical propositions on architecture and urbanism. What you see, the image is by Giuseppe Tarani, who began to question the functionalist movement in architecture. This is way back in late 30s, early 40s, and when world around was trying to revolutionize their understanding of architectural form, coming through a certain kind of a functional logic. Now, Italian classicism had certain tradition of looking at certain sense of logic. I mean, Renaissance looked at certain logic of anthropocentric architecture. Similarly, there are various traditions across the time which engaged with various kind of logic. Giuseppe Terrani looked at idea of structural logic the functional logic of modernist, the machine aesthetics of modernist, and how it can really shape architecture that is supposedly a public in nature. And this is similarly in other geography where another group was exploring various housing typologies or Russian constructivist. So Italy has the tradition of looking at larger theoretical discourse emanating out of architecture, but reaching to a large urban question. Uh, there are two aspects of this theoretical ideas that Aldo Rossi talked about, which is exactly opposite to what Peter Eisenman talked about, synthetical model, where architecture is subservient to itself, and the very idea of urban question is embedded into the investigating of self, that is architecture as an object. While Aldo Rossi is exactly opposite to that. He looks at the question of architecture as a regional model. It means architecture is not just urban, but it's a regional question. So, to begin with, Ross's understanding of architecture and city, starting from his inspiration from De Chirico's painting on public piazzas. Chirico actually painted piazzas with very peculiar characteristics. One can see a building in perspective, one can see a fine horizon line, one can also see a deep shadows, and most prominently it has objects which are part of the piazzas but not necessarily related to piazzas. Now one looks at this idea of these unrelated objects in piazzas. It allows one to ask larger question. It allows one to kind of move into a kind of a metaphysical excursion of looking at the other city, a city which is not the same, but city which is analogous to the existing one. And it says that we live in city which is always elsewhereness. The embeddedness of our city exists in elsewhereness.
So there are few components that he is talking about in his book. One is the memory. Memory is something that we all carry with ourselves when we look at architecture, city, events, any phenomena. I know we always have that kind of a thing. Depends on our exposure, depends on where we come from, our cultural background, and things like that. Analogy is something where we always kind of relate something what comes next to that thing, or next or to that object or event. So when you talk about Pink Floyd, you talk about music, that's analogy. So cities always has this kind of analogical structure, and we tend to kind of live in that kind of analogical structure simultaneously. Typology is all you understand, where building types that emerge in any geographical historical context. Very important part, propelling monuments and pathological monument. He began to look at these two ideas where some buildings are in a propelling state. They are constantly in use. They are functional. They are engaging, urbanity at large. So they are propelling monuments. And there are pathological monuments. Means these monuments they just exist. They do not participate in urbanity in any way in terms of activity, in terms of people. They are just there by its sheer historic importance. So these two aspects are very important when you do the urban analysis. Then you have a geography and history of the place, the region. It could be defined purely in terms of the features, characteristics. You can define in terms of the mythology, and you can define in terms of the various evolutionary pattern of the particular region. Then you have urban artifacts. He calls architecture is an urban artifact. It means within urban conditions, there are various things that exist. Buildings, people, you have nature, you have history, geography, they all become urban artifacts and they make an event. So I think the shift from architecture as an individual buildings to an architecture as an urban artifact is a very important shift. And then you have locus, it means the sense of place kind of a thing. Locus, all of us understand in mathematical term, but in spatial term, it is a sense of place. And there are four other aspects which I think are very important. History, as we learn, are about facts and effects, in terms of the dates, in terms of the events, in terms of the heroicness, in terms of winner, loser, and stuff like that. But there are other important part of history. He calls it historicism, which is cause and imperatives. What were the causes? And what were the imperatives? What has forced, pushed, or what is kind of superimposed on particular event, and what has caused that event? So historicism is slightly theoretical, because you tend to investigate into various imperatives. For example, the construction of, let's say, the Haussmannization of Paris is caused by certain things, certain power structure, certain regime reinforcement process, and things like that. And once you begin to dissect, various secondary events, you realize that architecture deals with many layers of power structure, and and it's very important to engage with historicism. Historicize is something very important in I think contemporary times, to make historically real. We often engage in a situation where we are compelled to make something historically real. These are again situational power attached to it and things like that. So historicize is something one has to be really very careful, understand it in detail. And historiography is about writing and developing narrative of history, and the historicism heavily depends on historiography, and begin to kind of see, what is historicized in between, what is real, what is not real, what is necessary, what is unnecessary. So I think as an urban designer, as an urbanist, it's very important to engage in this kind of conversation when you talk about city. So his entire investigation, his practice, his research, all came from certain region in Italy. So that's very important, that once you are based in certain region, you understand that kind of region better. And then I think it's important that to write about that region and engage with various manifestations, architectural manifestation, and various urban formations. I think makes sense in some way. So there are two aspects that he talk about. The city is a product of generative functional system of architecture. It means there are various architectural situation exist, and they generate certain functionally networked system. All of you understand network now. So generative functional systems of group of architectural buildings makes a kind of a very important system, and they are there are spatial linkages. We also discussed spatial linkages earlier, and these linkages kind of put the entire architectural system as a one functional system with many layers. Then he talked about the analysis of form through socio-political, economic systems. So functional system is depending on socio-political and economic system, while spatial linkages depend on architecture, geography, and history. So how these linkages have evolved. I mean, we will discuss this linkages in other presentation, different kind of linkages. We have discussed some basics, but this would the subsequent lecture will kind of elaborate more in detail. So idea of kind of a urban form is a product of generative functional system and a spatial linkages. So what he talks about, idea of the modernist city, the modernist city as a criticism, as a starting point, where city constitutes kind of a of variable data and autonomous kind of a point of view. It means there is a sense of neutrality in dealing with cities. So he calls it reductive scientificism, the way the modernist cities are, and unlike he began to put an argument that urban history and geography cannot be detached when we look at city only as a reductive process of a scientific understanding. And also he started discussing this idea of object and subject of city through history and typology. So where history becomes analogy of skeleton. Now this is where he talks about analogical architecture. It means typologies that you develop has some sense of semblance with the history. Somewhere it is connected, and that's what he calls it. It bears an imprint of action taken place. It means some actions taken at some point of time in history. Certain typologies have emerged, and architecture that fits into that kind of system bears that kind of a skeletal understanding of the history. So when he talks about typology, he talks about skeletal form, skeletal understanding of typology, where certain forms you reduced and to a point that it cannot be further extracted beyond some point. So this is where skeletal understanding comes, and the idea of skeletal and historicity. He calls it analogous to theoretical set. It means that this kind of architecture and urban setting should be understood as a theoretical set where people are engaged with on a temporary basis, spatio-temporal basis. Now this is exactly in opposition to the way autonomous cities of modernism, where you try to kind of divide cities with various functional zoning, various activity-based kind of a zoning, while Rossi is talking about activity kind of morphed into each other, and it brings certain different kind of flavors and different kind of phenomena to the city. So he calls urban artifacts as a kind of a permanence. There is a degree of permanence in that artifacts because they're going to be there for many years. And also he calls city is an event, and this event needs to be understood with this permanence that is architecture. So event and permanence, they come together, they make city, they make urban form. And then when they come together, there are certain compositional and combinational rules. This is what he's calling architecture of the city, and this is what he calls it typology and skeletal understanding of history. How they can come and how they can fit together. That's something we need to learn from history and geography. So he's talking about how cities are understood as a phenomena by people who live there, people who visit cities. So he's calling a kind of autonomous researcher. Each of us, no matter how long we lived in city, we are still independent, autonomous, because we live with our memory. We live with lots of memories about cities or about elsewhereness, and we are still exploring our city. So one side you carry your memory, other side you have an inventory kind of understanding. You want to kind of find out new things about cities, and the analogical city, the analogous city is exactly suspended between the inventory and memory. So you are constantly negotiating between these two. When you wants to understand cities, or when you experience cities or experience events or visit places within your own city. And as I think your memory and inventory kind of matures over a period of time, your understanding of city also grows in deeper sense. So this is one of the project that he did long back, I think in 80s, where I'll discuss this project a little bit in detail. Very interesting project. And Aldo Rossi has a very peculiar way of making drawings. Please understand this. And in this drawing also you can see buildings, you can see some object flying from somewhere, so very strangely, that Giorgio Chiericos, the art form is emerging in kind of all kind of drawings. So he's not talking about any particular language, but the language that has emerged in certain time, and language that has evolved. It's like a dialect which has evolved. It may not have a specific historical point of departure, but it has over a period of time overlapped with so many other dialects and imbibed certain ways of developing communications. Architecture is same. So there is no clear point of departure, but subsequently it has evolved over a period of time. He's talking about that aspects which is skeletal in nature. So you need to engage in kind of a sense of historicism, and develop the understanding of that skeletal form. And that skeletal form is exactly where your nature of architecture and urban setting kind of is embedded, and which is product of memory and inventory simultaneously. So this is the a project that he did, which is a theater on a raft, and it floats around. It changes its context. Very interesting building, and it has several events organized in several piazzas in Venice, and building kind of a constantly in a state of dynamics kind of a thing, moves around and recontextualized. So it's very interesting, yet it looks as if it's a part of that geography. So the urban form is determined by simultaneous action of dynamics that is propelling, and and constraining forces, which is pathological presence. And this kind of two ideas of pathology and permanence are constantly exchanging. They often complement, they often contradict, they often cancel each other out. But I think the idea of the event that exists within these two aspects of architecture is something where there is a sense of history and embeddedness could be discussed. So there are several projects. This is a town hall that he designed. One can not really say this is building which is designed new or building which existed historically. It's quite confusing. Also, when you look at the architectonics, of the building, it has a lot of resemblance to perhaps many historical buildings in that area. There is a presence of industrial kind of look to this entire manifestation. So this is exactly what Chiericos about, that you are actually constantly your experience of that architecture is constantly suspended between inventory and memory. You want to find out what is it about. At the same time, you carry some image. Like this one, obviously, is referring to Giorgio Chiericos' empty piazzas, deep shadows. The color tones are same, and it evokes certain sense of kind of introvertness at some point. It allows you to have that very strange excursion in that other city, and I think this is very, very important. Look at the color palette. You can look at the material textures, the quality of light. They all talk about kind of things that exist in kind of the strange dream sequence of space and the city. As I said, that he has a very peculiar way of making drawings. So it's like you remove some part of the city and fit with another part, and that part is almost looking what was earlier or what exists around, and it has that. So there is no kind of a strange characteristics suddenly coming from nowhere, or gestures which is alien to that context. This is the interesting building. It's a supermarket that he designed. Again, very strange. A plan is not clear, but it has you enter through this space, and that's a shopping center. But the thing is that if you look at the gesture, somehow because Turin is a region where the Fiat, that car, the Fiat and Lamborghini comes from, and it's an industrial town, and some of these gestures are definitely coming from there, and there is no kind of a straightforward signages, but he uses those industrial feature as a kind of way to advertise, and it looks as if building has been remodeled and not really newly constructed. This is the School of Architecture. Again, using existing buildings, putting new buildings on a high plinth, creating axiality with library buildings with the courtyard in the front. This is the library building. That's Axis. This is the exhibition. These are the 5 years, 5 studios and lecture hall together, and these are the existing buildings. This is the water edge. That's a section of the library building. So I'm slightly moving into architecture, but just to give you an idea that how this argument of city memory, inventory, and things like that, and how it really brings about the sense of that metaphysical city that he keeps talking about. So I think all of you should pay attention to these drawings, the way they are drawn and understood, with this context. This is a lighthouse that he designed. He combined two functions of lighthouse and amphitheater. Again, very thoughtful, very introvert kind of a thing. It withdraws, yet looks at the water edge with a sense of openness kind of a thing. So I think architecture has that inbuilt complexity, at the same time contradiction, and this sense of these two kind of a things brings makes buildings to be far more responsive than buildings which are just like an object. That's exactly what he's talking about: autonomous architecture and analogous architecture. And this is the last slide, just to give you a little glimpse of what author has written on what ideas and what is the method or a unit of analysis that is method. So if you look at Camillo Sitte, composition and principle, we discussed this. Corbusier comes here, functionalism and composition and technology. Aldo Rossi is somewhere here. So some of these ideas we will look at it, in a later lectures. But it's important that how each author is trying to understand, read, and represent cities through different positions, different methodology, and how the unit of analysis they emerge, in understanding of the city. Thank you.